Right now, the world is still. No distractions, no noise, just massive, massive opportunity. So while most are asleep, we move, we build, because we know deep in our souls the hours others waste are where strength is forged and separation begins. So, what is great, good, and real? Welcome to Raw at 4. Ooh, where the foundation of success is laid before the sun rises to say hello. The discipline they fear fuels the strength we build because when the world sleeps, we build. So we're live. And if you're with me here at 4 a.m., you're already ahead. So if you in that chat, drop a fire emoji. Ooh, baby. Then let me ask you this question. It's truth time, right? How many of you feel like you should be further ahead by now? And let's be honest, it's too early to do anything else. Let's be honest with ourselves. How many of you feel like in your life you should be further ahead by now? I'm with you. I'm there. That's why I show up 4 a.m. every day. So today, we're talking about something that most people never realize until it's too late. And it's this: the world respects power, not potential. Therefore, like that very powerful line in the movie A Bronx Tale, most of us are wasted talent, which, according to De Niro, is the worst thing we could be. You see, you don't get rewarded for what you could do. You get rewarded for what you execute. My beautiful, beautiful, blessed people. We have a core lesson for today. We're going to talk about why potential is meaningless without action. Listen, nobody cares about what you could do. No one will ever see what you could do, only what you've done, because everyone has potential, but very few people translate it into power. And I want us all to be powerful. The most dangerous lie: I'll do it later. Because we know the mind tricks you into thinking time is unlimited. But the world only moves for those who move first and often. Therefore, execution is the only currency that matters. People respect results, not ideas or what you could be. So stop talking about what you could be and start building who you are, my beautiful people. It's story time at Raw at 4. And I want to say, humbly, I believe in my potential and talent deeply. But I promise you, along the way, I've met people who were smarter, way more talented, and way more gifted than me. But guess what the really real on that is? They stayed the same. Meanwhile, my ability to supersede and get ahead was merely because I kept executing, kept building. And now they're left to wonder why they aren't where they should be. You ever had that situation and scenario? You supersede, you outgrow, you elevate, you sort of look back, you thank yourself and thank God. Ooh, I'm not there anymore. I'm further ahead. I executed on my talent. And then you have a conversation with somebody that it's maybe not so obvious. Maybe you bump into them somewhere. Maybe you call them out the blue. And a lot of what they're discussing with you as they sort of encourage you and express their gratitude for how blessed you are, they simply wonder, man, why am I not where I should be? Or maybe you're having that conversation with somebody where both of you are sort of discussing, oh, wow, did you see Cliche Jeff? on the mic at 4 o'clock in the morning, sounding crazy, looking crazy. And then you start to reflect, yo, I grew up with that dude. Who does he think he is? Where's he at? And why am I not where I should be? Ask yourself that question. Where do you think you should be? My beautifully blessed people, if you have life, you still have time. If you're not where you think you should be, let's start building on getting there. So I want to go back to the block to start. There's something that I believe deeply in for those who may not have been exposed. And I talk about the hood, I think, a lot more recently than I've realized or come to consciousness about. And maybe it's because, I've been reflecting a lot and I'm going back to my roots and I'm going back to the core fundamentals of who I am. And so in that way, the block, as what I would refer to as the block, is deeply profound to me. And naturally, again, a lot of the core of who I am. And if you haven't been exposed to the type of talent that's available in the hood, on the block, it's crazy. It really is immense. And I don't know that we realize that when we're in the moment and we're building community and we're building what we're building. But, even those who may choose to do some things that don't align necessarily with what life would tell you is conducive to a successful career, like if you decide to run the block, the truth is the person who decides on some of those things, they have a lot of great core values. They have people skills because they know how to talk to people. You may not agree and align with it, and they may be a bully sometimes, but they know the audience. They understand the audience. They know what to say to who and how to say it. And they know in that way how to create brotherhood. And so it takes people skills to ultimately become a leader who can talk and be responded to. You might look at it in a way that where you're not using it to the best of your ability, regardless. They're using it to build culture. They're using it to build an environment. They're using it to build loyalty, right? If they endeavor out to make a move in a certain direction, to invest in product and sell that product and move that product, there's distribution skills. There's operational efficiencies. It's not, you don't just wake up and like, yo, I'm gonna run the block or I'm gonna create this crew and this group of people and it just happens. No, you gotta have certain skills. Now, again, we could argue how you're applying it is not conducive to long-term success. The consistency there is not gonna get you, Tony Montana did it. But again, it's very short-sighted in that there's a shelf life. It doesn't scale long-term. But in any event, one of the things that I think is really prevalent where I'm from is the gift of gab. People just know how to speak. And I don't know that we appreciate, and maybe we are today in our world of social media and exposure. We see them all the time. They go viral a lot. People just understand how to communicate in a way that hits you, right? That's available almost everywhere I look, where I grew up. But also in that way, I always say, if you ask anyone honestly who's from where I'm from, nobody really wants to stay there. So why are they still there? Why are they not where they should be? Well, they haven't leveraged their potential. They become wasted talent. They're on the same corner, on the same bench, in the same environment, never taking their skills outside of what they're introduced to. So if you don't really build outside of what you were given, well, then your legacy stays right there. Is that not logical? It makes sense, right? So if you wonder why you're not where you should be, then a lot of it is because you stood exactly where you were and exactly as you are, and so therefore nothing's going to change, right? My professional career, I promise you, was no different. So much talent, especially in the space I'm in, the information technology space. It is a very logical space in that, yeah, there's a lot of ways that you could use the information and the space to separate yourself, but the logic for how to succeed in information technology is very literal. There's books, there's logic, there's networking. All those things are like, hey, you just follow these paths, you plug these things in this way, and you get ahead. But also, they're just systems, right? There's systems, it's technology, it's not really people. So in that way, the IT space can limit you If you just focus on, I'm going to go punch a clock, I'm going to go put hands on keyboard, and I'm not really going to look to grow outside of that. But it takes talent. It takes talent to understand the logic and how to have systems run the way they need to run. But you can get into a situation, again, I've said this before, right? VP compensation with no degree. How was I able to do that? It's just because I looked at my environment and the people who are where they are, who maybe don't believe that they are where they should be, but they stay there because they don't build on what they've established. They don't build on the talent they have. They don't build on the impact they've made to the environment, and so they stand still. And so in that way, although I'm VP comp, no degree, I have people who have MBAs and doctorates reporting to me. How is that possible? It doesn't really make sense on paper. Massive talent, clearly they have dedication and discipline to attain and get some things that signify, look, I've made it in a way, but they're not where they should be because they don't build on it. They're wasted talent. They take everything they have in a specific space. They might even lock in and focus on it in a way that says, look, I want to define myself and what is the word? Validate. I'm going to use some things to validate me and show that I'm capable, but they don't take the extra effort. They don't use what they have talent-wise to build and establish continued ancillary skills that you compound to your core values. Just the talent alone isn't enough. Talent is not going to get you to the levels that you're looking to get to success-wise in your life. It just won't. It'll establish foundations, but it won't help you grow. And so in that way, we find a lot of people staying on the block. We find a lot of people in their professional careers who go decades without promotions, who go decades working the same. And this is why it gets mundane and redundant and difficult. And it hurts our minds and it hurts our emotions. It hurts our spirit. It creates an inability to see growth because we stop growing. And so in that way, we become wasted talent. It's not because you can't. The requirement really at some juncture, everything I've been able to do as far as grow and take leaps and be able to present even what I'm doing right now, whatever I'm doing right now, is I just build and I just continue to execute. And I continue to have a plan that doesn't have sort of a shelf life or an end date or restrictions or limits in that. I don't agree. I'll tell you that I don't know exactly where I'm going to go all the way, but I know that there's no limit to it. I know I'm limited, but I don't make it a finite end goal. I just continue to say, I'm going to move the goalpost. Every time I attain something, all right, this is cool. I want a little more money. All right, this is cool. I want a little more knowledge. All right, this is cool. I want a little more exposure. All right, this is cool. I want a little more growth. All right, this is cool. I'm going to learn something different. All right, this is cool. I'm going to take another risk. I'm never risk adverse. So if there's anything I could offer you as far as the building blocks and a way to catapult yourself forward, don't stop taking risks. Don't stop establishing identity at scale in a way that says, I can continue to improve. I can continue to redefine myself if necessary. I won't be wasted talent. Know where you are gifted at. And at this juncture too, if you're like me, there has to be a realization of what are you talented at? Lock in on what you're good at. If you got the gift of gab, use it. Be more knowledgeable on your orator skills, knowing your audience, your environment. Take some classes for speech. Learn. Use it. Don't just know it comes natural. That's another thing too. It comes natural, so I don't got to work on it. No, it comes natural. You should work on it even harder. And you're sort of that jack of all trades, master of none. Can you become a master at something and then become a jack of all trades that support where you're a master at? Think about that, right? So I'm gifted at this. I'm talented at this. So I don't stop working on that. I continue to work on that. It should come easier. I don't have to think about it. I just build. And then the things I know I'm weak at, because you have to have a conversation to yourself. Where's the delta? Where am I weak at? I got to work on that too. I got to work on all the ancillary things, the micro that supports the macro, the little that supports the big, because I already know where I'm talented at, but my talent alone won't get me there. I got to have the skills that support it, right? Consider it. Consider what supports your overarching talent and your overarching gift and skill set. Layer it and then use it to have sort of an impetus for continued growth. There's no end in sight to what you can do. So that's what we're talking about, right? Potential is meaningless without action. No one cares what you could do, only what you've done. Everyone has potential, but very few people translate it into power. The most dangerous lie is, I'll do it later. The worst thing we could be, which is Colangelo, right? In a Bronx Tale that De Niro said, the worst thing we could do is be wasted talent. All right, my beautiful people. At this point, if you're here and you're with me and you're locked in, I want to ask some direct questions to our audience. I'm going to go in the chat soon and see if there's even an audience. I believe faithfully and deeply, because this is where God has put me, that we're creating an audience. We're creating a movement, the Raw 4 movement. This is me building on the talent that I believe I have, the potential of the Do You Rules, the Do You Rules live stream experience. This is a production of it, Raw 4. We come together, we build together, because if we don't run the system runs you. So, what is something you know you have potential in, but haven't executed on yet? I want to ask you this question. What is something you know you have potential in, but haven't executed on yet? Where's my chat? Where's my chat? All right, nobody's in the chat right now. But if you're catching this a little bit later, ask yourself this question. What is something you know you have potential in, but haven't executed on yet? And also ask yourself this question. What's the biggest excuse you tell yourself about why you're not further ahead? Let's be real. Let's be honest. Let's be raw and direct. And since we're waiting for the universe to drive more engagement and bring us the beautiful people who are going to join us for Raw at 4 to build community, to help each other, because I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone, my beautiful people. I need you. I need you more than you need me, I promise. And if you believe you need me, I'm here to support you. And in that way, we'll realize we all need each other, right? I'll answer the question for today as we wait for the world to bring us people. What's something you know you have potential in but haven't executed on yet? I think what I'm doing right now, I believe that I do have massive talent, and I've always had talent in the way of being able to express myself and communicate in a way that is clear, concise, and relatable. In the information technology space, one of the hardest things to do is take technology, networking, or any of those skills and be able to speak it to an audience that has nothing to do with technology, right? But in the way they need to adopt technology to invest in it, and we need to sell it, and people need to buy it. So a lot of it is what I believe I have the potential on is I can sell. Can I get you to buy? What did I need to sell? What did I need to understand? I needed to sell myself. I needed to realize that and come to the realization that I needed to sell myself in a way that is beneficial to the freedom I seek. I didn't know how to quite define it. I didn't know how to quite put it into terms, but maybe I also had to be patient without realizing it. The world was going to explode in this way of social media, was going to explode in the way of influence, which the world has always been influential. The most influential people have always succeeded at the highest levels, to varying degrees, depending on how you define success, at least how I define it. So I know I've always had this potential. It was shown to me as I grew my career and I was getting promoted and I was identified as somebody who should speak and become a keynote speaker. Like VP, no degree, or VP comp, no degree. Before I was even at director and senior director levels, before I even grew in title, I was just a lowly manager, if you would. I had just gone into the precipice of my first promotion in leadership and given it a title. I was with chief level executive people who have chief level executive compensation, exposure, experience. I was massively young. I was chosen as a keynote speaker to go on with people to speak at the podium, on the stage, to talk about the space I was in at an expert level. Imagine that. So I saw I had the potential. I was around people who had already exceeded my potential in a lot of ways, as far as they could put on the surface and write down and show you this is how I've been successful. I was just potential. I was just a seed. I was being watered, but I was already being exposed. I got a light bulb moment. Like, what is it? Minions light bulb, right? Yo, I could do this. I love doing this. I got a lot of feedback that said, yo, this is very natural for you. It didn't dawn on me then, but I can see it now. I have potential in it, but I haven't executed on it yet fully. That's what I'm trying to do now. That's what the Do You Rules podcast is for. That's what the Raw 4 live stream experience is for. That's why we work every day to improve. This is what I'm trying to execute on. That's how I want to answer that. I'll check the chat. Nobody's there yet. Let's go into this. What's the biggest excuse you tell yourself about why you're not further ahead? I've heard a lot of excuses. I've heard the excuse of, some people are favored. You're the favorite. Is there some validity there? I think that you'll learn in life that, how about this? I wrote this down the other day, and it's coming to me now. Successful people need other successful people to continue to be successful. We got to understand it about life. Successful people need other successful people in order to maintain and grow their success. So someone who is ahead of you, someone who is further ahead, learns at some point, in order to stay ahead, I need more people to support me. There's no one who can achieve CEO level, company head level, startups, building a brand, anything. You can't succeed and go ahead without other people. So successful people are going to look back, per se, and know that I need to pull other people with me, because at minimum, if you haven't learned this about life, when you start to exceed at levels and gain titles, you need a successor. You'll never be able to be promoted in your career, in business, in life, until somebody else can replace you. Understand what I'm saying, because it's the biggest fear. It's a lot of what people do. They create and they hold on to their babies. Oh, I gotta create this team and be this leader, and I can't let everybody know what I know because they'll take my job. You can't think like that. If no one can take your job, you can't be promoted. In the same way, God is like, yo, I want to push you further, but if it's all about just you and you can't help other people, and no one can replace you technically, where you at? It's why my wife and my phone, I had to learn this. My wife and my phone, I put her in as CEO. My last name's Rodriguez. CEO Queen Rodriguez. Until I learned to treat her really as Queen and CEO, I couldn't take my life to the next level. Why? I need her support the way she needs my support. So in business, if you don't have a successor, you can't be pushed ahead forward, because then no one can replace you. The same way in your relationship, it's not necessarily that it's 50-50, but you got to be able to have full transparency and trust that I can fall and she'll catch me, or he'll catch me. And she can fall and I'll catch her, or she'll catch you. You got to have that. Scale that out in your relationship as a parent, friends, whatever. So part of the biggest excuse we might tell ourselves is, well, other people are favored. It's not that other people are favored. It's that successful people need other successful people to continue to be successful. And if you don't show that you can help somebody be successful, then the person who's in the position of success, they won't call on you, including God. Yo, God, come save me. God is like, yo, save yourself. I got you. I'll show you compassion and empathy, but is that what you want to use God for? I don't know. I'm asking a question. What's the biggest excuse you tell yourself about why you're not ahead? Favoritism? I think that there's sometimes situations like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been exposed to it and we wouldn't know it. But I don't want to say for certainty, but I believe 99% of the time, it's not about favoritism. It's about the other person is executing more than you are. Let's be really real. And look at where you're at. If you've been in the same place for a long time, it's because you haven't executed to a high level. One of the biggest excuses you tell yourself is, I'm not being favored. Okay. What's another excuse? I don't have time. Okay. If you don't have time, how can you create time? That to me includes that you or suggests you're not willing to sacrifice. Are you still going to parties that takes you 2, 3, 4, 5 days to get over the hangover? Imagine that. You don't have time, but you just went to the celebration, and now it takes you a week to get over the celebration to do what? Tell yourself, oh, I don't have time. You're not further ahead because you don't have time. If you don't create time, you'll never have the time. If you never have the time, you won't get ahead. That's an excuse. If you don't have time, when are you going to make the time? When are you going to make the decision to say, I got to build? If I want to foster growth for myself and I want to take care of myself, I got to create time. Take inventory of where you're putting your time at. It's not a question of, do you think I want to? It's not about, did I want to wake up at, I had to get up at 3 today. I moved it back from 4 to 3:30 to 3. Why? I needed time. If I'm going to say I'm creating Raw at 4, I'm going to get on at 4, and I want an audience, I'm going to have the audaciousness to say, God, send me an audience so we can have a conversation and grow together. I'm going to be there at 4 o'clock. How do I get there at 4 o'clock? I need time. Imagine me being like, yo, God, you know what? I just want to sleep in today. I don't have time for this. It's cool. The universe is going to accommodate you. God is going to accommodate you. The world will accommodate you. Exactly what you give yourself time for. Sacrifice. The biggest excuse outside of you're not being favored is you don't have time. And the longer you stay in the mode of I don't have time, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to have time. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to stay where you're at. Guess what's going to happen? You'll be wasted potential. My beautiful people, this is not to cast aspersions, or this is not an indictment on anyone. It's just to suggest that if you're not executing, what are you telling yourself? And if you can tell yourself why you're not further ahead, then you got to be able to also tell yourself how you could get ahead. We got to be solution driven. That's cool. Write down all the reasons why you're not ahead. And then write down all the ways you can get ahead. All the reasons I'm not ahead, this is how you get ahead. And once you know why you're not ahead, it'll tell you how you get ahead. It's logical. It's logical. So in that way, those are some of the questions. Clearly there's more. We can talk about a lot of excuses. We can create a lot of excuses. I think that we all can make an excuse an excuse. There's a lot of ways that things become an excuse. In any event, I've made a commitment to myself. I'm going to try to execute. Whenever this makes it to you, because I do believe you're going to make it with me at 4 o'clock. I'm calling on the world to come join me at 4 a.m. my time, Eastern, whatever that means for you, whatever time zone you in. I don't care where you're at, all across the world. The Do You Rules, Raw at 4. If you don't build it for yourself, it'll be built for you, my beautiful people. Over the next 24 hours, if you don't believe you're ahead and you're not where you want to be, let's write down what is stopping you, and let's write down what you need to do to make it happen for yourself, right? We can look at this like the 1% rule. 1% apparently, right, are successful. Let's prove that we're a mover, not a talker, coming from a talker, right? Pick just one thing. One thing you've been thinking about doing but haven't been doing. Then take one real step towards making it happen before tomorrow's live session. Before this makes it to you, before you listen to my voice again, take one step. Execution builds confidence. Let's prove to ourselves that we're about movement, not just about thoughts. Let's create habit and reinforce the habit. There's nothing worse than wasted talent. Potential is just wasted energy. If you don't act on it, it is wasted. If you want to be respected, let's start moving differently. My beautiful people, start moving differently. It's the Do You Rules. You're the number one priority. So let's be real. If this made it to you, who's actually going to execute on this today? When you read it, when you watch it, when you see it, if this hits you, drop a little checkbox in the chat, in the comment section. Come back to this. Tell me what you did so that we can all see what you did and we can move together. Remember, the weak make excuses. the strong move, act on something, break the trap. My beautiful, blessed people, it's Raw 4. It's the Do You Rules experience. This isn't just solely motivation. This is a system. Potential means nothing. Execution is everything. I don't want to be, we don't want to be, none of us want a community of wasted talent. If you made the live stream, dope. And even if you didn't, make it a point just for yourself to show up today. Prove to you you're about action. Don't just listen. Move. Because on the Do You Rules, you either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich. Ooh, baby. Yeah, mother.